everyone. So today's Monday. That means it's time for family movie night. And this week we're continuing on Jane Austen month. And we are talking about one of the more unusual adaptations of Pride and Prejudice. And I think is the first adaptation. It's the first one that I know of. It's the Pride and Prejudice from 1940, starring Greer Garson and Sir Laurence Olivier. And there may be like some really obscure silent movie version or something like that that I don't know about. Please tell me in the comments if you know about it. But this is the first one that I know of. And it's an interesting version because it is not true to the book hardly at all. and they make tons of changes, which will bother some people, but I think it's an interesting watch to see the changes they do make. And it's just kind of a novelty. I think every Austen fan should watch it at least once to just see the history of what people do with her words and her work. They do make lots of changes to the story and many other things we'll talk about. But as far as Lizzie and Darcy, they are pretty true to the book, their characters. And I think Olivier and Garson have good chemistry, and I think they do a good job with the roles. I think that he is your archetypal Darcy, sort of the stuck-up character. He does fall pretty quick for her in this, and so he's pretty much just a nice guy for most of the movie, but at least for the beginning, they have that archetypal Darcy Lizzie interaction that you want to see in these characters. So one of the biggest changes that they make is they decided to move it from 1810 to 1830. This is probably somewhat influenced by Gone with the Wind, which had such flamboyant costumes. And here, these costumes are so big. The sleeves, I have never seen such big sleeves in a movie, and the hats are over the top. It's worth watching this movie just to see these crazy costumes. And the Regency era is actually quite simple in its costumes. The high-waisted dresses that were popular there, and sometimes maybe the ball gowns might be a little bit flamboyant, but for the most part it was actually a pretty simple era. And that's why shows like Bridgerton and things like that have to kind of go into the realm of fantasy with some of their costume decisions, because that's really not in the Regency era. And so these costumes are just wild. And then we also have some big changes to the story that they have. Like I said, they do change, I think, Darcy's character quite a bit. He's more just kind of like he falls really quick, and it does feel a little bit like her refusal of his is a little undeserved, because he hasn't really been that much of a jerk, and she hasn't been with Wickham that much. And so what they do is they make her just finding out about Jane and Bingley, and so she's like fresh on that news. So when he proposes, she's angry, and so it kind of makes sense on that level. But he hasn't been that much of a jerk, so it does feel a little strong.
I hadn't known you a week before I decided you were the last man in the world I'd ever be prevailed upon to marry.
You've said quite enough, madam. I understand your feelings, and have now only to be ashamed of having confessed my own.
And we also have a lot of changes that were made forced by them by the code at the time, the censors. Like they couldn't have Mr. Collins be a clergyman because that was too scandalous to have a clergyman behaving the way as a buffoon, the way that Mr. Collins is written. And so they changed him into a librarian, which I don't think it really makes much sense why Lady Catherine would be so invested in the librarian in the town. Whereas like if he's the clergyman for her land, for her parish, then of course she's going to be invested and be a busybody for that. So that makes more sense. And it's just kind of crazy that like something that was okay in the early 1800s when Jane Austen was writing, that is not okay in 1940, evidently. That's just kind of wild to me. But then they also changed the ending quite a bit, particularly with Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and they make her kind of a busybody matchmaker between Lizzie and Darcy, which is crazy. Her big speech at the end is all just to see if Lizzie is truly in love with Darcy. It's not actually to threaten her in any kind of way. So I don't know. I mean, it's silly because the book is perfect and you don't need to make these changes, but it is also kind of interesting, novel, unusual to watch and just see the changes. I don't know, I found it kind of fun in a way, see what people do with the story. And it's definitely not one of my favorite versions. I don't think it's a great movie by any stretch, but if I didn't know the book so well and I was just watching it as a rom-com, then I probably would actually enjoy it more. I think the costumes were over the top because they are, but the performances are good. It's cute. It's a fun enemies to lovers romance. So if I wasn't as tied to the book, I probably would like it more, but I still do kind of enjoy it as a lark, as a novelty, as something different. So if you haven't seen it, I definitely think it's worth watching for any Jane Austen fans, and you can watch it on HBO Max right now. It's on there. So it's an easy watch if you have HBO Max. So let me know what you think of this version. Have you seen it? What do you think of all the changes? I would love to hear your thoughts, and please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. I'll have my playlist for all of my Jane Austen month reviews in the description, so make sure to check that out. I also have the Patreon group and merch store. Please take a look at that. I would really, really, really appreciate it. We've got lots of fun perks for the patrons, and we also have great Valentine's designs for them in the merch store, so check that out. And thanks everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.